Hi, Harry Payton. I'm the host of the Irvington Now Show. Today I have Mrs. Lane, and she's been discussing an organization that she's formed called David's Shoes. It's in honor of her son, who was tragically killed. His name, David Lane II. And we are speaking of, how during that tragedy and after that tragedy, she was able to deal with it and actually turn the tragedy hopefully into something that will limit someone else having to feel some of the things that she felt. And we've had a great discussion so far. I just want to, I haven't spoken to you about it. I might have shared it with the audience. I love your message because I consider myself lucky and blessed. I was born in Harlem, New York, a place where people aren't supposed to succeed. People are getting shot, all the kind of things that happen. But I didn't have any of that happen to me. Then early in my life, in the 4th grade, my family moved to Newark, New Jersey. I was raised in the projects in Newark, another place that saw some real tragic things. I saw a young man, we speak about the Army, a young man that served in the Vietnam War, served admirably, handsome young man. Back then all of the women loved him, and I was a young man, wow, I wish I was him, because his life was such, he was a war hero. He came back, and one evening he was sitting on one of the benches outside of the projects, which happened to be in front of the projects. The next morning, because my mother made us come in at 6 o'clock, so I didn't know what happened at night. I came out and found out his name was Anthony. That Anthony had died. Someone threw a piece of furniture off the roof of the 13th floor and hit him. Now he survived the Vietnam War, but he didn't survive the. And so these things have always been lodged in my head, that I consider myself a survivor of these circumstances, and most of the reason why I was able to survive was because I had parents who made me come in at 6 o'clock. I had mentors who said, Payton, you're going, because I was inquisitive, I was intelligent, you're going to be something, let me do this for you. Boy Scouts, I was in the Boy Scouts, I forget how high I went, but one of the things we were taught, be prepared. All these things carried me to the point that I am now, and I consider myself blessed because they're not but for the grace of God would I be, because I could have fell into some of the dangers of some of the other people, and your son certainly was not one of the persons who was in the dangerous part of it. He just happened to have a situation where he was a victim. But now, I know you mentioned that you go out to the schools and you speak, and that's great because again, your message is a message that many people need to hear, especially our youngsters. How can a group or agency schedule an event to get you and your organization to appear?
David Shoes has, number one, we have a website, but if you get in touch with us through email, that would be great. In David Shoes, INDAVIDSSHOES @gmail.org. Just get in touch with me, and that's it. And I'm willing to say my telephone number is 973-374-0132. Call me or email me, and we will set up a date, and that's basically it.
Okay. All right, and now, as a result of the organization, I also went to the website, very well put together website. You guys give a scholarship, or give scholarships.
Right. One other thing, one other thing, I said, I don't know whether I'm connecting with the kids, I don't know. I need to know that I'm doing something. So it just dawned on me to start giving book scholarships out to young men from urban areas for the 4 years that they're in school. So we've been doing that for the last 8-9 years. We've given out book scholarships for the young men for the 4 years they're in college. We eventually decided that not only are we going to give what you call book scholarships, but they're going to have mentors as well. Because we know that it's easy to get into college. Once you get in, doesn't mean that you're going to, to continue on. And we wanted our students to continue on. Thus far, we have had 5 graduates. That's why we've had 5 graduates. This year, I think we will have 3. At present, we have 9 young people, 9 young men who will be receiving book scholarships. Our scholarship luncheon is in July. second Saturday in July, July 8th this time, 2017. And I'd like to say that our guest speaker, we found a fantastic guest speaker, Dr. Terrence Roberts, who in 1957 was one of the 9 young people who integrated Central High School in Little Rock.
Yes.
President Eisenhower at that time had to order troops to guard them during the time in which they were in school. So they had the troops to guard them outside the school for the entire school year. But we don't know exactly what they had to deal with inside the school. So we are looking forward to have him as our guest speaker July 8th, 2017.
Beautiful, beautiful, and that's a great person to have. I do know the story. I know it very well. I humbly say a bit of a historian, but I know more about Black history than the average person.
Right.
But I always tell people I learn something new every day.
Right, right.
So it's not, you're not, well, I know everything. No, I learn something every day because so much of it was hidden from us.
Right,
and that is, the story is what you talked about. The story is one thing about them entering the school and what happened, but the inside the school is what very few people have reported, so that should be a great session.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, you spoke about the scholarship, and I explained before we came on camera, as the host, I'm the person that has to delve into those questions and, ask the questions, and I know that if you're offering scholarships and things like that, I wish it was the opposite. The money doesn't grow on trees. You can't go back to that tree and say, let me get that money off that tree. So how can a person make a donation to David Shoes?
Go to the website, davidshoes.org, and go to the donation page, and you can make it. And we certainly welcome your donation, because that's exactly how we operate. Most of the 99% of the donations go exactly towards the scholarships. This year we gave out $4,500 in scholarships. Next year we intend to give out at least $4,500. I'd like to push it to $5,000, because that's my goal. My goal is to give out 10 scholarships a year. We got to 9. I'd like to see us giving 10 scholarships a year.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I encourage audience members, as I said before, you've heard me say this before, other organizations, it takes money to buy land. That's the old expression, but it's still true today. Please make a donation, no matter how big or how small. Make that donation, because when we always hear people talk about the bad part of what's going on in our community and our youth, if you're not doing something to affect change, change won't take place. So make a donation today. Encourage a friend or neighbor. Go to your church and say, look, I'm taking a special, Pastor, can I take a special donation? And here's why. The website is available. We will make sure it's available to you so that this organization can continue. I, again, as the host, do quite a bit of investigation, because as the host, I'm responsible for everything that comes across the screen. This is a great organization. Certainly, our hearts go out to you, for dealing with the tragedy. But also, it goes out to you for turning this tragedy into something that is helping other people. Like you say, right now, you have the 9 young men that you're assisting. And again, as I explained with my life, if not for the assistance I got from others, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what my life would be like. I tremble to think about it, because I've had a blessed life. I've traveled overseas. I have a TV show. I write prolifically for magazines and everything like that. But I'm a boy from the ghettos of Newark and Harlem, New York. It's not supposed to be where I'm at. But that's the wrong way to think. Because all of our kids, whether they're from Harlem, Newark, Irvington, Patterson, Jersey City, should be right where I am and further up. But we tend to think, oh, well, I'm from such and such, I shouldn't be here. And tragically, that's not true.
Absolutely. One thing you said, and I honestly and truly, totally agree, if it hadn't been for other people, and I would want to say to the audience Sometimes as adults we look back and we talk about the droopy pants and all of this kind of stuff, but it's our job to do something. If all we can say to this kid is, "Hi, how are you today?" Because here we're giving him some feeling of humanity, you know, we're trying to connect with him. And we say that every day. Eventually we can create a relationship and eventually we can talk to him. Who's to say this kid with the baggy pants has someone to tell him at his house that this shouldn't go? But yet, instead of us creating an opportunity to do so, we just can't sit back and just talk about it. I read a book a long time ago, at least 10, 15 years ago, a small book. It was about this African woman talking about her country, her village. And she said, there is no such thing as aunt or uncle in my village. She said, everybody is a mother and a father. And the kid can wake up today and say, well, I'm going to go be with so-and-so. We have to realize that every child, whether we birth them or not, are our children. And we have to care for them. If only a person can do is to pray for this child who is going astray. Are you too afraid to talk to them? Pray for them. But do something. Rather than talk about them, let's do something, because that's the only way. That's the only way that we can get out of this cycle of violence. That's the only way we can care for our kids. You know, that's extremely important to me.
Yes, no, thank you very much, and that's why I'm honored to have you as a guest, because you know you speak from the heart. You say things that others would say, but again, the easiest thing for you to have did is to ball up in the shell and say, why me? Why me? Turn to the other things, like you said, that many have turned to, but so certainly you're a person that we should listen to, because the heart that you're speaking from comes from a heart of a mother who's lost a son, but who doesn't want to see someone else lose their son.
Absolutely.
And that's something you don't have to do. You could just sit back and say, look, I'm tired of this whole thing. I'm not going to, but you're doing that. So I ask the audience, listen to Mrs. Lane, because again, sometimes just saying hello. That youngster may look at you all evil.
Right, that's right.
But if enough of us say it, he said, boy, these people are persistent with saying hello.
Absolutely.
One day he'll break down and say hello back to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want. We want to push, we want to break that shell.
Yeah.
We want to do whatever's necessary to break that shell so his humanity or her humanity can shine forth. Because they are human, you know? Yeah. And they do have a sense of humanity. It's just that they've built that shell so thick that it's going to take time to break it.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for being a guest. I hope that your story will lead others to know that there is hope, others to know that sometimes when life hands us, I believe the old saying is lemons, you make lemonade. It sounds so simple, not always simple as you explained. But one thing that you mentioned, and I know my pastor has said it, and I did use it in my life. He said that life is a circle. I'm going to try to draw it. You might not be able to see it, but it's a circle, just like the earth. And as you're on the circle, sometimes you're at the top. But then as life is going around, sometimes you find yourself sliding down and you end up at the bottom. But what you have to do is find a way to stay on that circle till it comes back around and you get back on top. So life in and of itself will have you going around in circles, good times, bad times, and you just have to be able to survive the bad times to get to the good times. And certainly you are an example for all of us. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we come to an end?
I think that in November, well, it really is the first Tuesday. All right, we have Thanksgiving. Then what is there? Black Friday. There's I know something else, and Cyber Monday. And then there is such a thing called Giving Tuesday. And we are having and this is all over the world, not only the United States, it's all over the world, can participate in this. So we're having one fundraising event. We're having a pocket change day. We're asking you to look in your pockets and see how much change you have on November 29th, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and donate that amount. Go to davidshoes.org and donate the amount of money that you find in your pocket on that particular day.
Okay, so you've heard it. Now you've wondered, I talked to you about donating. Do that on Pocket Change Day.
Right.
And that's a good thing. I've seen that commercial where the guy says, I did this for my life. I took my coins and I did, and believe me, I use that because I empty my pockets at the end of the day. And there are times when I have $40, $50 from those coins because it's such a good thing. So do that. Make sure if you don't donate before, don't wait. But if you go to and on November 29th, make that donation to David Shoes. Please, I implore you. Mrs. Lane, thank you.
Thank you.
May God continue to bless you.
Thank you.
And may the memory of your son always be there, because certainly he sounds like, as I said, he sounds like me, you know, because I was that inquisitive person, and I related a story. I'm such a storyteller. In class, you know, we talk about bullying because October is part of it is anti-bullying month.
Right.
So I always like to share that with people. Back when I was in school, if you had to be tough. People bullied you. Teacher said, "Well, I'll talk to them." You know, they didn't consider it bullying.
Right.
Now, because I asked so many questions, some kids got mad at me. You know, because when we go to recess at 11 o'clock, you know, if you asked a question, it might go into recess. One day I asked a question, and it was about 11:05 before he went to recess. The bully said, "You ask the question tomorrow, I'm gonna do this to you." You know, he didn't say that, but he threatened me. So the next day I came in, and of course, me being the person I was, I had a question. So I sat there and said, "Oh boy, I'm sure I'm gonna get beat up." I looked at Robert, I looked at, you know, the question. I tried to keep my hand down, and I put my hand up and asked that question. Now, needless to say, I didn't have a good recess because, you know, but what that taught me, and as goodness is my witness, I saw Robert years later, and you know, but don't hit me no more, Robert. But he shared with me, he said, "You know, I knew you always were going to be something, because I was always so jealous because I didn't have any questions to ask." And that explains the bully, because sometimes it's just jealousy because I happen to have a question. He didn't have a question. Oh, I hate him because he got a question. And I was in fear for my life, but I didn't succumb to him. And that sounds like your son David. So certainly we want to encourage others to be like David, so that their life will be something that we will always talk about. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for watching this episode of the Irvington Now Show.